1:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. The Cabinet of Ministers has decided to appoint an 8-member subcommittee on cost of living. The Prime Minister says a discussion with the International Monetary Fund had ended successfully. A new budget will be submitted to provide concessions to the people. The President arrived in the Parliament today. The Cabinet approves to waive off unpaid loans obtained by paddy farmers from state banks. In news from overseas, US police have arrested a man after yesterday's mass shooting. Local news in detail. The Cabinet of Ministers has decided to appoint an 8-member subcommittee on cost of living headed by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The Cabinet approved the President's proposal to re-establish the Cabinet Subcommittee on Cost of Living, chaired by the President and comprised of Prime Minister and 6 other members, to provide a necessary policy and practical solutions to keep the cost of living stable. In the meantime, the Cabinet has also approved the appointment of the Food Safety Committee under the chairmanship of the Minister of Trade, Commerce and Food Safety and the participation of the relevant ministers to support the work of the Cabinet Subcommittee on Cost of Living. The Cabinet has also approved to amend the budget estimate for the year 2022 and to prepare necessary legal draft bills in this regard. After that, it will be gazetted. It will be presented to the Parliament as well. The approval has been given to submit a new budget at a ministerial meeting held recently. It is hoped to provide many concessions to various fields that were affected due to economic crisis in the country. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says that Sri Lanka's discussions with the International Monetary Fund (IMF) had ended successfully. He stated that the next step is to submit a report on debt restructuring. Wickremesinghe stated that while delivering a special statement in Parliament today regarding the progress of negotiations with the IMF, Sri Lanka has so far held several rounds of negotiations with the International Monetary Fund. Wickremesinghe also presented the roadmap with proposed solutions to the existing economic problem to the Parliament. A report will also be submitted on debt restructuring and the stability of loans. 2 financial companies are planning it. The report in this regard will be submitted to the IMF by August. He said the aid summit will be formed with the donor countries of India, China, Japan, and with many other countries. According to the roadmap, it is expected to obtain 1- economic growth rate by the year 2023. The grievances and suffering of people should be stopped. The Prime Minister also requested the Parliament to submit a fruitful plan than this. Parliamentarian Nanda Kumara has stated in Parliament to re-establish the country within a 6-month period. If it can be done, it will be good work. The Prime Minister also stated to submit it to the President or to the Parliament. There is no country in the world who had done it so far, and it will be a fine example to the world. The Prime Minister reiterated that all should unite to create a social market economy. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa arrived at the Parliament to attend the Parliament sessions. The President, who arrived at the Parliament complex, was received by the Leader of the House, Dinesh Gunawardena, and the members of Parliament representing the ruling party. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe was presenting the roadmap with proposed solutions to the existing economic problem to the Parliament. And the President entered the chamber and listened to the speech. Parliament convened today at 10 a.m. Parliament was adjourned for 10 minutes after the opposition staged a protest. The Cabinet of Ministers has approved a proposal to waive off unpaid loans obtained from state banks by paddy farmers who have less than 2 hectares of land. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, as the Minister of Finance, has submitted the relevant proposal to the Cabinet. Accordingly, the Cabinet has given approval to waive off the initial loan amount which have been obtained from state banks for paddy cultivation on lands of 2 hectares or less and which farmers are facing difficulties in paying back. The Easter Sunday attacks and the coronavirus pandemic that followed have had direct and indirect effects on every field in general, the government said. It has come to the attention of the cabinet that under this backdrop, the situation has become unbearable for the farmers, who are about 30% of the total population. Also, with the resorting to organic fertilizer instead of chemical fertilizers, farmers have faced several difficulties. Due to this, the banks have categorized the unpaid loans taken by the farmers as non-performing loans. Accordingly, the government has taken this decision in consideration of the difficulty faced by farmers in obtaining loans for paddy cultivation in the coming season. And that ends local news for now.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The government has taken measures to seek an alternative to avoid the existing ammonia nitrate explosive materials that is used for many industries in the country. The State Trading Corporation has the authority to import, storage and distribution of these materials. The reason for this shortage has led the long-term suppliers of the explosives materials could not supply it. Therefore, the industries that use these materials are unable to maintain continuously. As a short-term remedy, the Ministry of Defence has taken measures to import these ammonia nitrates soon. The cabinet approval has been received for it. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And moving on to Watchlight, the traditional puppet artist industry in the Ambalangoda of the southern province has been deteriorated. The puppet industry is also popular among foreign countries. The responsible sector of the government has not paid attention in this regard. People who are engaged in this industry has requested the relevant authorities to safeguard this industry for the future generation. And that was Watchlight. Moving on to a bulletin of world news in the headlines, U.S. police have arrested a man after yesterday's mass shooting. 50,000 on evacuation alert after deluge hits Sydney. Drought emergency declared in northern Italy. And now the world news in detail. U.S. police have arrested a suspect after 6 people were killed in a mass shooting at an Independence Day parade in Highland Park, Illinois. Robert T. Cremo, 322, was detained after a brief chase, police said. The gunman climbed onto a roof, shooting randomly at spectators using a high-powered rifle. It is the latest mass shooting to hit the U.S. There has been one in every week of 2022. President Joe Biden said he was shocked by the violence. Hours later, 2 police officers were wounded in a shooting in Philadelphia during a 4th of July fireworks display. About 50,000 people have been urged to evacuate their homes as floods hit Australia's largest city for the 3rd time this year. Parts of Sydney have received about 8 months of rain in 4 days. Roads have been cut off, some houses are underwater, and thousands have been left without power. Widespread flooding across Australia, driven by a La Nina weather pattern, has killed more than 20 people this year, many in New South Wales. More than 100 evacuation orders have been issued across Greater Sydney for the current emergency. Italy has declared a state of emergency in 5 northern regions surrounding Po River amidst the worst drought in 70 years. Emilia-Romagna, Friuli, Lombard, Piedmont, Veneto will be given €36.5 million or £31 million or $38 million in emergency funds to tackle the water shortage. The drought threatens more than 30% of Italy's agricultural produce, according to the Agricultural Union Colretti. Several municipalities have already announced water rationing. Back to the headlines of the world news. U.S. police have arrested a man after yesterday's mass shooting. 50,000 on evacuation alert after deluge hit Sydney. Drought emergency declared in northern Italy. And that was world news. Moving on to development news. Tangala Kaduela Fisheries Harbour will be developed at a cost of ₹2.5 million. The project is being initiated by the Fisheries Harbour Corporation. The project includes to enhance the coastal conservation activities and to provide cold shortage facilities. And that was development news.
Sports news is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
The second and final test match between visiting Australian and Sri Lankan teams will be played on Friday at the Galle International Stadium. Australia has won the first test match played against Sri Lanka and is leading 1-0. Sri Lanka have bolstered their spin bowling options ahead of the second test against Australia in Galle on Friday, calling up uncapped spinners Mahesh Theekshana, Dunith Wellalage and Lakshita Manasinghe. The additions came after left-arm spinner Praveen Jayawickrama tested positive for COVID-19 last morning, with a rapid antigen test administered after the player reported that he was feeling unwell. And that was sports news.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Sampath Bank PLC has been rated as Sri Lanka's best retail bank and best commercial bank for the 9th consecutive year at the renowned World Finance Banking Award ceremony hosted by the UK-based World Finance magazine. Displaying the Sri Lankan flag prominently at this prestigious global forum, where the bank has been receiving both these tributes every year since 2014, Sampath Bank is the only bank from the country to be lauded at this venue this year too. And that was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
In economic news, the Commercial Bank of Ceylon has announced that CommBank e-Passbook, Sri Lanka's first digital passbook, is now operable in Sinhala and Tamil in addition to English. To further encourage digital banking habits and improve the customer experience, an upgrade to the app enables Commercial Bank customers to select the language of their preference to view their banking transactions and access all services offered by the CommBank e-Passbook. And that was economic news.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
In the weather report, the Met Department says that showers will occur at times in the Sabaragamu province and in the Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Mathura districts. Several spells of showers will occur in the western and northwestern provinces. Showers or thundershowers may occur at a few places in the Uva province and in the Ampara and Batiklo districts during the afternoon or night. Strong winds about 40 to 50 kilometers per hour can be expected at times in the western slope of the Central Hills, western, southern and northwestern provinces. That was the weather report. And to end this news broadcast, back to the headlines. The Cabinet of Ministers has decided to appoint an 8-member subcommittee on cost of living. The Prime Minister says discussions with the International Monetary Fund had ended successfully. A new budget will be submitted to provide concessions to the people. The President arrived in the Parliament today. The Cabinet approves to waive off unpaid loans obtained by paddy farmers from state banks. US police have arrested a man after yesterday's mass shooting. And with that, we end this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.